Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you for being patient and allowing us a few minutes window of relaxation and calm before we get started this evening. My name is Adam Welch. I'm the Executive Director here at the Arts Council of Princeton, and it is a true honor to have you all here in the house with us today. And of course, our special guest, Senator Andy Kim, is here as well. So I wanted to introduce him later on. And so this is the second book launch that we've had here in the last 6 months or so, Reverend Gregory Smith and I, that are focused on the Witherspoon-Jackson Neighborhood, which this is sort of the gateway building, and it exists just behind us here, bordered by Witherspoon Street and what is now Paul Robeson Place. Gregory's book, we have volume 1, which is a reprint, which sold out in, I think, under an hour for the first printing of it, so we had to do a second printing. And he also has volume 2 out that is available here. And Gregory's books, so the book that I published is sort of a history, kind of like a people's history. Gregory's book is a genealogy of hundreds of residents, past and present, and I believe most of you probably know many of them which are in the book, and or books, plural. So the first book that I printed was a little zine, a little pocket book, kind of like a primer on the neighborhood. Naive of me, a lot of fun. But what I noticed is many people coming up to me enthusiastically. Oh, did you know so-and-so? Oh, you left out so-and-so. What about this area? What about this area? So the new book got a little bigger and has a little bit more information in it. So I'm going to set the stage here for tonight's evening before we introduce the senator. And there's a couple things I want to get into, to dig into. The first one is the acknowledgments. I've spent much of my life in small towns. There's a closeness in a small town that is unattainable and unknowable elsewhere. To write about a town, let alone a neighborhood you have not lived in, and persons with whom you have never met, is a near impossible task. That is, without the assistance of those who have lived it and are living it. For this, I relied on Aaron Fisher, Leighton Newland, Gregory Smith, and John Thompson to help fill in the blanks. All of them are here this evening. Tremendous gratitude for Princeton University's abundant and valuable resources, Firestone Library, the Papers of Princeton, and the Princeton and Slavery Project. If you're unfamiliar with this project that they completed a few years ago, a decade ago, it's a very, very valuable resource, and you should check it out, and it's absolutely special and spectacular. Special thanks, I must say, and financial support for the New Jersey Historical Commission through the Mercer County Cultural Trust, which led to the first publication of the neighborhood in decades. Thanks to the in-kind support of the Historical Society of Princeton, the Princeton Room of the Princeton Public Library, the Witherspoon-Jackson Historical and Cultural Society, many of the board members are here this evening, and the Arts Council of Princeton. Special thanks to Liza Peck, who's in the audience this evening, that wrote the grant that got the attention of the Mercer County Commission, which supported the first phase of this research. And a special shout out to the cover girl in our midst, Shirley Satterfield. Shirley Satterfield, I want to thank for keeping history alive and front of mind. I also want to make sure that I give an enormous shout out to the support and patience of the staff here at the Arts Council. They have been tremendously supportive of all of the crazy endeavors we undertake here at the Arts Council, and they're absolutely amazing. And I want to also thank the Board of Directors of the Arts Council, many of whom who are here, for all they do to help us build community through the arts. And again, thank you to the Witherspoon-Jackson Historical and Cultural Society for coming tonight. So Juneteenth, right? Juneteenth is why we chose this date, Gregory Smith and I. And before we take a minute to read a little passage in here about Juneteenth in the neighborhood, I just wanted to say something that, to pick up on something Leighton Newland said yesterday at the municipality flag raising of the Juneteenth flag, where he mentioned that Juneteenth is not the end game. You know, it's just a date, right? It's what we do moving forward that matters. And thankfully, today, here we are moving forward together. So thank you, Leighton, for those great words. The next tab that I wanted to talk about here in relation to Juneteenth is, on January 1st, 1863, 16th U.S. President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring enslaved people free. June 19th, 1865, Juneteenth, a portmanteau of June and 19th, the last remaining enslaved people of Galveston, Texas, learned about the end of the Civil War and the end of chattel slavery. The 13th Amendment, abolishing slavery in the United States, was ratified 6 months later on December 6, 1865. While New Jersey sounds progressive with many acts, which I talk about earlier in the book, this is an interesting tidbit of information, is slavery's final legal death in New Jersey occurred January 23rd, 1866, when in his first official act as governor, Marcus Ward signed a state constitutional amendment that brought about an absolute end of slavery in the state. In other words, the institution of slavery in New Jersey survived for months following the Declaration of Freedom in Texas. For 1 month following the amendment abolishing slavery in the United States, there was still enslaved black men and women in New Jersey even after Juneteenth. Until December 1865, 6 months after enslaved men, women, and children in Texas found out they were cheated of their freedom, approximately 16 African Americans were still enslaved in New Jersey. Princeton was not immune to the indignity of slavery. The residents here in some way contributed to its decline, though it remains a mystery how it was that a few enslaved blacks in New Jersey did not obtain their freedom until after those of Galveston, Texas. Juneteenth, the day that commemorating the freedom of the enslaved of Texas, was 2 years late, which was 6 months before New Jersey's final emancipation. So tonight we're in for a real treat. As I said, this is a book launch with Gregory and myself, but what we're doing is we're doing an open mic here as well, all right? So what we're gonna do is, if you haven't already signed the paper back there, please do so now. And once we begin, Gregory will be the MC of the evening. He'll be calling out names for people that have signed up and peppering his own poems in there as well. So when your name is called, please join us in this seat, and then you'll have 3 minutes to talk. But if all of this isn't exciting enough, I got a call out of the blue from Senator Andy Kim's office saying that he was interested in seeing and learning a little bit about the Paul Robeson Center for the Arts, which houses the Arts Council of Princeton. So he wanted to see a little bit about what we do and learn a little bit about the ethos of the Arts Council of Princeton. And I think that this event is certainly the place to learn that and to see that. So if ever there was a group of people who are community and cultural placemakers, it is the team here. Kudos to them. They make my life glorious. They make all of our lives a little brighter. So the team here is just absolutely exceptional. So I just wanted to point that out again. And if you haven't already received a letter from me in the mail, at some point you might. And I'm very fond of saying that art is light onto the world. And it's really the support of others, particularly of my team here, that help keep us all out of the darkness. So I want to thank the team for all their support. But the senator, right? That's who I was introducing. Senator Andy Kim is a lifelong public servant who is proud to represent the state where he grew up, and that gave his family a chance at the American dream in the United States Senate. Before being elected to represent New Jersey's 3rd Congressional District, Senator Kim worked as a career public servant under both Democrats and Republicans, having served at USAID, the Pentagon, the State Department, the White House National Security Council, and in Afghanistan as the advisor to Generals Petraeus and Allen. In the United States Senate, Senator Kim is committed to building a better future for his 2 little boys and generations to come. He is focused on combating corruption and ensuring our democracy is reflective of all American voices, on building an economy where everyone can afford to provide a better future for the next generation, and in making America more secure by growing our competitiveness. But the most important part of the biography is always the last paragraph, all right? Most important is that Senator Kim is a proud husband and father of 2 great children. 2025, right, 2025 marks 51 years since Senator Kim's parents immigrated here from South Korea. He is proud to be the first Korean American elected to the United States Senate and New Jersey's first Asian American senator. So without further ado, Senator Andy Kim.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm short enough that I can stand and speak into this mic, so it hurts my ego a little bit. I'm appreciative to the Arts Council for turning my inquiry into learning about this into now I have to speak here. So great job on twisting that around, but it's my it's my pleasure and honor to be here. And what better way to come here and see this building than to see it in action, to see it as what it is meant to be, which is a gathering point for the community. And to not just gather here alongside you for any purpose, but to gather alongside you for the celebration of this very community in which it exists in. And so I just want to say thank you for welcoming me into your community on just such an incredibly powerful moment. It's important for me to learn about. I've been humbled to be able to go around this state, my home state, and people have asked me what's my favorite part of this job, and I say, I get to meet so many people I wouldn't have otherwise had the chance to be able to meet and learn about all these different communities that make this state so beautiful and vibrant. So we take pride in that. And today, we highlight this community. But I want to just kind of start by just acknowledging, what was just said. He ended about talking about my family. Yes, this is 51 years since my parents immigrated. And, they lived a life. My parents were born during the Korean War. And, had a really tough childhood growing up in that poverty after the war and the challenges that were there. And to find ourselves now in the United States, it's interesting because I don't think I fully understood until I got older just what it was like for my parents. I look back on it, like just the courage and the grit that they had. Like they didn't know anybody in the entire Western Hemisphere, planet Earth, when they came here. And I think about it because, just this beautiful gathering here in the Arts Council, it makes me think, and I'll share some stuff I don't normally talk about, but my mother was a nurse here, served in the hospital systems, but what she really wanted was to be a painter and a poet. So art was infused in our lives, and she would spend so much of her time painting. And I didn't fully understand. Apparently, visual arts skips a generation in my family. So I did not have the blessing of that talent, but she wanted to instill the arts in us, and I ended up becoming a musician, and that was kind of, I played since I was a little kid. In fact, I knew my scales before I knew my ABCs, so we always say that music was my first language. But my mother, she always painted. And I don't think I fully understood what it meant to her. But when I look back on it, and some of you, like in some of the interviews I do on TV, you might see sort of a painting of some flowers behind, but that's hers, and I keep it there as a reminder. But she, in particular, paints flowers from Korea. And she hasn't lived there in 51 years. She hasn't lived there since she was a young woman. Yet she paints it, and I don't think I fully understood until I got older what it meant to her. It wasn't just about the art. It was about the history. And I say that as someone who also has, my sister is a historian. And so in this gathering here of the marrying of art and history, I see that very much in my own family and what drives them. And what's interesting is my sister and I were both born in America, but my sister has, as I said, gone into studying history. She's now a professor in history, but in particular has latched on to the history of Korea, the history of the United States and Korea, and in many ways reflective of the same thing my mother is doing, which is about the history of our family in some ways. It's an exploration of how are we here, about why are we here, and a respect for that comes before us. And I see a lot of that reflected in this discussion and what's going to unfold with these stories of the marrying of art and history, but not just for the sake of it, but for an understanding of how are we here, what has come before us. And ultimately, I think the intersection between art and history is one that very much marries up in a word that I find so essential in our society, which is about storytelling. I think that is really where the Venn diagram of art and history comes together, that ultimately it is about a story. Even the story that you shared about Juneteenth, happy Juneteenth, everybody, it is a story. It is a story about freedom deferred, freedom delayed, a story that I take on board as someone that I was proudly able to, be one of the ones that casted my vote in the House of Representatives to make Juneteenth a national holiday, and I feel very proud about that. But what I take away from it is not just a recognition of what happened back then, but a reminder of what it is that we now need to do going forward to make sure that type of injustice, that type of freedom deferred and delayed doesn't happen again. And it's the story that resonates with me, because it reminds me that my job doesn't just end when I vote yes or no, and we pass a piece of legislation or not. Because we saw very well with the story of Juneteenth that doesn't guarantee freedom. That doesn't guarantee rights. That doesn't guarantee that people will be able to have the benefit of what they are entitled to in this country. You have to fight for it. You have to implement it. You have to execute it. And that is something that we see right now before us. I don't want to go into all the politics of it, but we are living through a particular moment in American history that reminds us that we cannot take things for granted. That things that we believe are inscribed in stone, inscribed in law, you have to fight for it. You have to finish that story. You can't just assume that the pen is going to create the kind of conditions that you believe in. And so I'm grateful to have this chance to be a part of this, to be somebody that can share with you my own family story as I try to understand what now that I am a father of a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. My family story, my kids' lives, it's even further away from our history in South Korea, further away from the histories that we are experiencing. Younger people they're going to get further away from the history of this neighborhood. And that makes it all the more important for us to be able to document it, to preserve it, but most importantly, to share the story of it. Because that is how we best communicate to one another as human beings, through that kind of means. So thank you to all of you for showing up. I'm grateful I was able to share with you part of my story. I'm eager to hear some of yours, but also to be able to learn about the story of this beautiful neighborhood. So thank you so much, everybody.
So thank you so much, and it's absolutely a pleasure to have you here at the Paul Robeson Center. John Thompson is from the neighborhood, a sixth-generation Princetonian, and I've asked him to come up and say a few words before we begin, a little bit about his story. But what's fascinating about John is he's a sixth generation from the neighborhood, but he's now the president of the board of the Arts Council of Princeton. So, so since he's my boss, he's going to come up and say a few words for us.
So I didn't prepare anything. I don't believe in writing speeches. And Adam gave me 3 minutes, but now he's going to know what it feels like when I have to cut him off at all of our board meetings. And then the other thing is, Senator, if you ever want to skip one of those boring meetings and have a jam session with my uncle and I, we're incredible percussionists. As Adam mentioned, I am on the board here. I was thinking on the ride in this evening, and it may sound corny, but I got a little bit emotional, right? Because I am the true definition of full circle. This community raised me, and if you look around this room, you'll see my uncles, cousins, niece, friends, my best friend's parents here. And I went from participating in classes here, karate classes, watching movies, to now helping to lead the charge of this board. And it's honestly been one of the greatest honors of my adult life, in all honesty. Thanks. This community is unique in what it has to offer. What we try to do here in this organization is sort of mimic the old history of what this community used to be. And if you grew up here and you're from here, you know exactly what that means, right? You didn't know that your neighbors were different colors. They were just different people. And so we've, over the last 5 years, have worked really hard to change the culture of this organization. And Adam's done a wonderful job of that. This staff has done a wonderful job of that. Art isn't something that you wake up and want to do. Art is who you are, right? And this staff wakes up every day challenging themselves to find better ways to serve the community. And for that, it's the thing that I'm most proud of, right? And so all of this is possible because of the people that are in this room. We don't operate without the community, right? We owe it all to you. And so every day we're trying to get better. Every day we're trying to grow. If you have ideas, come to us, right? Don't come to me. Come to Adam. If you see things that are going well and you want more of it, come to Adam. If you see things that you feel are missing in the community, come to Adam. These doors are open. They're open to whatever. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what sexual orientation you are. This is a safe space for the community. And so we've worked really hard to rebuild that and to reestablish that. The last thing that I will say is there are people that come up to me in this community and they let me know that they're very proud of the position that I'm in now, and it's humbling. It really is. And I feel like I am a representation of all the history that took place in this building. And I keep mentioning, if you're from here, you know. But if you know, you know. So the last thing I will leave you with, I wrote this little thing in 1988 when I was going off to college, and I just use it to remind myself all the time. I'll pull it out every once in a while. It's real short, but it goes, so you've never seen the lights dim down and still bright in the darkest streets. So you've never wished for more than you have and hope that ends would meet. Today has passed and you pray to God that tomorrow would not be the same. But imagine how precious today would be if tomorrow never came.
One more conversation before we kick off. And now I'm going to open the floor. Earlier during my brief little discussion, I mentioned yesterday at the flag raising for the municipality of the Juneteenth flag, Leighton Newland, Councilman Leighton Newland gave a little speech. And Leighton, who's also of and from the neighborhood, is the council liaison to the Arts Council. And he has been a great spokesperson for the Arts Council, and he has been very, very supportive of everything that we've been doing. And I couldn't be more proud to say that Leighton wrote the foreword. If you haven't bought the book, buy the book. Wrote the foreword for the book, and I'd love for him to get up and give us a few words before we open it up to Greg. So, Leighton Newland.
Thank you, Adam. Just want to say how great it is to be here. Welcome to Senator Andy Kim and your team. And unlike my cousin John, I'm a little older. I'm a little forgetful at times, so I have something to say, but I wrote it down because I don't want to forget it. Good evening, everyone. What a beautiful night in the neighborhood. I don't stand, but I sit before you not just as a councilman, but as a native son of Princeton, a member of the Witherspoon-Jackson Historical and Cultural Society, and the council liaison, as Adam said, to the Arts Council of Princeton. And tonight, I'm just plain proud. Proud to be in the room with Adam Welch and Gregory Smith, two artists, two storytellers, two truth keepers who have gifted us with the second editions of books that don't just speak about the neighborhood, but speak for it. The Witherspoon-Jackson Neighborhood is built on resilience. Our history is one of people who endured, who persisted, who created community even when the world told them that they didn't belong. And what we're doing tonight, gathering to share our stories, our poetry, our art, and our truth, is the very definition of building community with intention and with love. That's why the work Adam and his team have done at the Arts Council means so much. They haven't just included the neighborhood in their vision, they've embraced it. They've made this place feel like home again. And home isn't just a building, it's a feeling. And when we walk through these doors, we feel seen, we feel welcome, and we feel valued. Let's be honest. Across America right now, we see a push to erase history, to divide communities, to go backwards instead of forward. But tonight, here in Princeton, we are doing the opposite. We are moving forward, boldly, creatively, collectively. Senator Andy Kim, your presence here tonight reminds us that this work matters, not just locally, but nationally. Thank you for standing with us, for recognizing that resilience, culture, and community are not just buzzwords. They are the very things that hold this country together. So tonight, let's celebrate the power of the pen, the strength of the spoken word, and the beauty of a neighborhood that keeps rising again and again. This is more than a book launch. It's a declaration that we are still here, still writing, still building, and still believing in each other. Thank you.
Well, good evening to everybody. What an awesome day it is here in Princeton. I'm so grateful for all of you coming out tonight to share in learning some glimpses of our incredible history. And let me say to you, Senator Kim, I've seen you in several different towns. About 4 or 5 years ago, you were in Burlington County. Last year, you were in Monmouth County in Red Bank. And your commitment to people and to families and to the common folks just means a lot to all of us. And so we thank you, and we're honored to have you here today, indeed. And so I've been tasked to share some glimpses from my book, Reflections from a Vibrant Past, and also interweave all of the people who have requested that they share their own stories. And so we want to honor that. But just out of respect for some of the matriarchs of this community, I wanted to start by reading 2 excerpts from my book, Volume 2 of Reflections. And these are to 2 women who I think really embodied the nucleus of why we are who we are. And so the first poem that I'm going to read is about a woman who has gone on to glory, but was a really integral part of my development when we arrived here in Princeton back in 1971. And her name was Mary Tadlock. How many of you remember Mary Tadlock on Clay Street? And so I'm going to read my poem about her, and it'll give you some insight into how we were growing up under the tutelage and leadership of some of the women of our town. And I wrote in the book, an iconic spiritual figure at Mount Pisgah AME Church. She was the spiritual giant who was expressive in her declaration of her faith and her love for God. She was everyone's grandmother, especially on Clay Street, and demanded order and respect. Mary Tadlock. Among my early growing days, each Sunday we would hear the wailing voice of Mary, of laughter, joy, and tears. Sometimes presenting sweet as pie, sometimes you'd hear her roar. While praising God, she kept it real and settled any score. A wondrous ball of energy, of spirit, and of light. But if you lingered on her stoop, hot water was in flight. A different time, a different way to handle life with zest. She wouldn't bend, but in the end, she helped us pass the test. The world was safe in her domain, ensuring they would be. A shouting Mary Tadlock, demonic spirits flee. Mary Tadlock. And another mother who was a mother to many of us and really was one of the longest living individuals in this community who went home to be with the Lord a few years ago at the ripe age of 107 years old. 106. Well, the book says 107, so, you know. Deacon Fletcher's mother, Queen Maxie. Queen Maxie, our town mother, community friend, a voice filled with reason from birth till the end, a woman who valiantly raised all her seed, fulfilling sound values, supporting those in need. Both she and her husband embodied a special life, protecting the family and avoiding all strife. She quietly rendered a beautiful way to live a full life and seize every day. Queen Maxie, Mother dear Maxie, you gave us your best. Rejoice now in glory and take your dear rest. Queen Maxie. And so at this time, we're going to invite another icon in this community, I think, one who shares her gifts of creative reflection. And I've actually invited her for two reasons. One is to read a poem about her dear nephew, who I loved and was a brother to me. And also, I want her to take this opportunity to share at least one of her own stories. And so I'd like to invite Evelyn Turner Counts to come forward.
Good evening, everyone. I have this wonderful joy to be here, to be part of this celebration. And I'm not sure which of the pieces you'd like me to read first. Okay. I would like to read something from the second Reflections. This is about my nephew, Billy, who has been gone, I can't believe, almost 2 years now, but good friend to Reverend Greg, very good friends. And we happened to be at First Baptist Church down the street, and our family was being recognized by joint effort and Safe Streets. It's something that happens each year, and it was wonderful to have family together. And the person who was running joint effort, John Bailey. You know anything about John Bailey? Very tall, imposing sounding voice. And as it turns out, John wanted to present a portrait which was done by Aaron Fisher. So we were excited about this portrait. And my nephew, Billy, said, no. So I laughed to myself, a first-rated show that Sunday that Billy told John Bailey, no. The rest of us trembled and moved out of fear, while others are stricken and driven to tears. But Billy refused that warm summer day, stayed firm in his pew with no words to say. John sought, and he pleaded, and he threatened with scold, but Billy, defiant, refusing to fold. I wasn't alone as I chuckled with glee, applauding in silence as Billy sat free. John never encountered the Billy I know, as kind as they come, but with fierceness in tow. He'd give his right arm, but don't make him mad. With a force of quick lightning, that brother was bad. We live and we learn, as the seniors say so. I saw for myself when Billy said no. This piece from me has been because I have been, as many others, writing about my experiences growing up in the John Street neighborhood. And we've heard a lot about generational wealth, but generational indoctrination, that is, phrases, ideas that have been passed down over generations that shaped us and molded us, was also a part of living here. So this is a small collection of things my parents said too often. Go upstairs. Say your prayers. Do as I said. Enough water before bed. You know wrong from right. I said, turn off that light. You should have been home before those street lights came on. They said, go read a book. Before crossing streets, look. Is your homework done? Piece of candy? Just one. Did you clean up your room? Sweep that floor, get the broom. Decide in or outdoors. Did you finish your chores? Didn't hear you say grace. Need to straighten your face. Sit up in that chair. Girl, did you brush your hair? Finish all of your food. Need to stop acting rude. Always make sure you're home before those street lights came on. Why talking so loud? Don't hang with that crowd. Why your dress shoes are scarry. Tell your brothers you're sorry. I say, stay out of those streets. Wash your face, brush those teeth. For the last time, good night. Who left on all these lights? You can't go to the party. I've got something for smarties. All my words will be felt. Let me go find my belt. We translated their warnings. We surmised what they meant, but were sometimes confused by the speaker's intent, far beneath what we heard in each harsh-sounding word was really, we love you, adore you, and we've got your back. We know that this world can be harsh when you're Black. Please stay out of trouble. Hustle home on the double. Remember all that we've said. When you're out, use your head. You come from excellence. Always use common sense. We sound tough. Yes, it's true, but we're so proud of you. We would be very upset if bad came your way. Know that love is embedded in the tough words we say. No, hard doesn't mean strength, and soft doesn't mean weak. We must infuse kindness in the words that we speak. So go upstairs, say your prayers, brush your teeth, slide in the sheets, and we love you and adore you. And we've got your back. We love you, adore you, and we've got your back. We're grateful you're home when the street lights came on. May we all make it home before the street lights come on. Thank you.
Wow. I think we all can relate to that one, can't we? Those unspoken words of love. Speaking of love, I want to take an opportunity to read another excerpt from my book, page 40, Gilly Ann Smith, whose birthday was yesterday. And had she lived, she'd have been 84 years old. 85. 85. Gotta get these numbers right. But her son is here, and her sister in love is here. And I just feel I'd like to share, and her sisters, and her brother-in-law, so the family is here. And to honor Gillian's 85th birthday, I want to read her story. A cool and gentle ripple on a warm-filled summer day, relieving heat and burden, that was Gilly's way. Non-intrusive, but effective, supporting those in need, devoted to her family, with quiet word and deed. Not looking for an accolade, her gentle voice that's found, forgiving mindless escapades, forbearing words and sound. In a quiet, peaceful solitude, no greater love is sown. With a non-invasive, gentle breeze, no greater love is known. The tender voice of reason, surpassing breath and span, completing well-lived earthly course, the love of Gillian. And I did mention that her sister-in-law was here today, Sarah Craig Innes, and she's also in the book, and I want to just take a moment and read hers before we go on to our next presenter. And if you know Aunt Sarah, you know this is true. There isn't a kinder, more gentler voice to melt all cares with the sound of her voice. With grace and nurturing fondness and plan, you raised generations with vast loving hands. You've taught to ensure the pleasures of life, that good can precede an abundance of strife. Sarah Craig Innes, who's here today. And we have a poem from Haley Young, one of our children of this generation, and we're so thankful for Haley.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. My name is Haley Young. For those of you who don't know me, my family has been in the Witherspoon-Jackson neighborhood for 4 generations, so a long history there. So I have 2 poems that I would love to share with you all this evening. This first one is called Academia, for Paul Robeson. Oxford comma split us down the middle, you, me, and them. We remained separate. They stayed uptown, where the chapel bells chimed and ivy clung to sandstone. We stayed downtown, where the folding chairs rusted and the basketball bounced on the blacktop. Jewelry stores, rough tweed hems, cross the street and your face darkens. Mahogany staining the white facade, colonial houses and marble pillars, the last remains of empire. How did it feel entering hallowed halls, the folly and the fanfare? I felt the same. Like a cord was twisting around my finger, so tight that it purpled. But I know the word ontology now. I keep it tucked under my tongue for when they ask me where I come from. And then I have one more to share with you. This one is called Witherspoon-Jackson. The rainbow houses at the end of the street are losing their color. Paint chips falling on the soil, coating the ground in red, blue, and yellow speckles. But the color must remain the way it was, even as time leaves holes in the roof, the walls, the windows, the place where the rain came in, her feet sopping when she went down the stairs to do laundry. She took the bucket and went out in a downpour. It left her drenched. After some time, you placed the sign out front to mark how long the houses stood. The lost generations, the ones who died or moved away when they couldn't afford the taxes anymore. A crowd gathered in the front yard to read it, and the buildings stood, frozen in time. People wanted to witness history, so we sat on the porch, statuesque, like an impressionist painting from a century before, the watercolors bleeding down the page. Thank you so much.
One of the original inhabitants of that rainbow house was a woman by the name of Frankie Hines. And in either 89 or 90, her mother passed away, and she opened up that house to give my family and I an opportunity to live there. And I'm very grateful to Frankie Hines, and so I want to just read this poem I wrote about her. Dear Frankie, you opened up your mother's home, a rainbow house intact. I had the nerve to drill a hole, the first and then the last. You only charged a modest rent, and still so slow I'd pay. You taught me like a gentle mom, son, pay your bill to stay. One morning we awakened to a gentle, loving sound. Our baby in an adjacent room, a music box was found. It played so sweet and gently, we only could surmise. Your mother, Frankie, welcomed us with love so pure and wise. That's Frankie. And I would be remiss if I didn't recognize some of the men in our town, and there were many of them who inspired and did some wonderful things. But there was a man in particular on Clay Street by the name of James Brown, and I wanted to read his poem. James Brown, a man of faith, was a quiet father for his 4 children. He and his wife, Jenny, were role models to so many children within the Witherspoon-Jackson community. Despite the famous namesake, he never said it loud, but yet with vaulted wisdom produced a lasting sound. A student of theology, creating a humble path, enhancing our humanity, dispelling fear and wrath. In quietness, he blessed our way, no truer case in form, invoking heartfelt empathy, destructing mindless norms. A gentle, quiet husband, dear father and Christian friend, saluting Clay Street's patriarch, a quiet force to end. That was James Brown. And so we're going to invite A. Benedict to come forward, who has a poem and states that he's honored to be here, and so we are grateful for him. Let's give it up for A. Benedict.
Nice to see you all. Thank you for having me be a part of this really important event tonight. So I am A. Benedict, and I'm a local Mercer County writer, poet, and storyteller. And I'm hearing some great stories tonight. And I'm gratified, humbled, and honored to hear these stories and understand them. Obviously, I'm gonna do my best with my piece tonight. I'm gonna do my best to provide justice, but I cannot obviously, while I can relate or I can't relate, I can empathize, because obviously I was not victimized to the racial, systematic racism and injustice that people have gone through. We're at war right now in a lot of ways. I'm not going to be political, but telling stories has been happening since the beginning of time. It needs to continue, cannot be erased. So the piece I'm going to read is called Bricks, Sticks, and History. Emancipated, only to be degraded, denigrated, subjugated, relegated, and segregated. A neighborhood like a donut hole surrounded by racist richness, nearly obliterated, but indomitable. Armed and ready black militia fighting for what they believe to be unalienable rights, but truth be told, serving at the pleasure of old colonial powder-wigged whites. Freedom for all. Freedom for those whose skin color matches pristine shaded snow. A neighborhood perpendicular to Nassau Street where the strength of a black community enabled it to grow. 8 small blocks removed from the rest of Princeton's academia, alienating an intelligent mind, unable to learn, grow, prosper, and shine, like the coin needed for an unequitable education in Princeton. A beautiful black community off of Witherspoon Street, with hardworking residents toiling, creating, developing, and sustaining a noble, organic, self-defined version of education and freedom. Tanneries, bakeries, and restaurants existing. A daily newspaper providing information to residents with news about a community flourishing on its own, all the while through societal severance. Affordable housing, moving into towns and cities. Affordable for who? For those seeking their stocks, 401s, and IRAs, which exponentially burgeoned and grew. The Witherspoon and Jackson neighborhood still exists, still standing, historical bricks and sticks, remaining, despite racism and greed, lies a neighborhood alive in history books for those brave enough to read. Thank you very much.
Perfect, perfect. The person that I'm going to introduce, I'm going to read a poem I wrote about him. And you can guess who it is. With bright painted colors and Picasso's red hair, he sprays and creates us, life legacies there. Enforced by the virtues of those gone above, inspired by family with forces of love. His soul-stirring movement, each new masterpiece, stops hearts from their beating with awes to repeat. Our own Michelangelo, our Rembrandt compares. No canvas is laden, no picture is bare. So humble in nature, astute in his craft. Our dear brother Aaron, whose pictures will last. Aaron Fisher, come on up here. Now, he did have a red afro. Long time ago, 18.
Wasn't ready for that. So let me set the scene. If you're not from the Witherspoon-Jackson neighborhood, it's a rectangle. John Street, Witherspoon, Green Street, Birch. This little rectangle of mine, 219 Birch is where it started for me. Next door to the McQueens, across the street from the Newlands. Had no idea I was living in history. Other folks would walk on the other side of Witherspoon, not caring or understanding that there was a whole nother world on this side. Entrepreneurs everywhere. Mr. Ball's Candy Store, Jimmy Mac's Barbershop, the Coffee Cup, Miss Burrell's Beauty Salon, the Youth Center, where we sit right now at this very moment, even Sonny Tash's Liquor Store, Khufu Temple number 120, Aaron Lodge number 9, which I was named after, the Blacktop, the Mecca, a homecoming every day when you turn the corner from John to Clay. Basketball games from morning till night, folks sitting on cars or on the concrete that lined the fence to get a glimpse. The call that frightened us all was, "Brother is out." The name that turned your blood cold as you heard from one end of Birch all the way to Green Street. It was the warning that he was loose and you need to get inside quick. Who was Brother, might you ask? Brother was an all-black German shepherd with a dock tail that would make you cry at the sight of him coming towards you. So many more stories, not enough time. This little rectangle of mine.
I'm trying to capture the people that are here today, so I wanted to take this opportunity to acknowledge a beautiful spirit in this community, and that is none other than Joy Morton. A firmly rooted presence, transcending place and time, to bridge a cheerful thought or dream, a mother's faith divine. You foster many caring words, you help us all to survive. And when it seems all hope is gone, you lift us to revive. Saluting many people, a host of lifting words, a friend to one and many, creative heart to serve. Joy Morton. I love you, Joy. And there is another man who I wanted to take a moment and just acknowledge. He's no longer with us, but some of you might know this man, Clarence Bosley. He really was an impactful person in my life, and I just want to acknowledge him. His son is here today, and I just want to let him know that his dad meant a lot to all of us. A father to many, extending open doors. With loving Jean right by his side, you fed us all the more. A home so vast and welcoming, in reclining chair you sat. Your words, though few and labored, brought tribute and a pact. Your sons behold your legacy, with large brown eyes compared. Collective journey through our town. We know that you were there. Clarence Bosley. The Reverend Dr. Darrell Armstrong is in the house today. A gifted orator in his own right, the longstanding pastor of Shiloh Baptist Church in Trenton, a dear friend to me who has been supportive to so many causes and to so many lives. He has a poem that he'd like to share, and so we are grateful to have him with us. We know he can preach, so you know he can share some words. The Reverend Dr. Darrell Armstrong. God bless you, brother. Love you, man.
Love you. Great to be here. Thank you all for the invitation and for the occasion. This is a tremendous occasion. I want to give some love to Tracy Livingston, who is a faithful servant of the Most High, and the Livingston family, her husband Osborne, are here, and their roots run deep here in the Princeton area. I see Mother Sarah Ennis there, and so many other familiar faces. Great to see you all. Wonderful, the Fletcher family. This reflection is entitled A Black Man in a Collar. And they were written on March 26, 2019, within an hour of what I call being racially profiled, stopped by a local Mercer County law enforcement officer. Poem reads, early on March 26th at 3:15 in the morning, I was reminded again that being black in America comes with no warning. As I circled off exit 7A on the toll road, I noticed a bright light flashing in my face, thought it strange, couldn't imagine what it was as I kept my car on pace. Then that heart-pounding moment that every black person has dread, A police stop. Please, God, don't let me get shot or wind up dead. I kept saying to myself, surely, surely, surely this is not about to happen. On came the red flashing multicolored lights, everything but the siren. As the uniformed figure slowly approached my vehicle on the passenger side, he uttered, license, registration, and insurance card, I need you to provide. I flashed my police chaplain's badge, but that really didn't much matter to this young white officer with a badge, a gun, and a baton ready to batter. From where are you coming, and tell me where are you going? Officer, for what reason or reasons did you pull me over? I kept asking. I know he couldn't admit the real reason for this early morning traffic stop. Driving while black, driving while black, driving while black, full stop. Remain calm and place hands on the steering wheel at positions 10 and 2. Getting home safely to my sleeping children is what this black man had to do. So I answered the question because I knew he would not answer mine. My black suit and white collar were of no significance nor importance in his mind. A family whose loved one is dying requested my presence tonight to pray because they feared that their loved one would not live to see the breaking of day. At all costs, God, I promise to serve you and do your will, regardless of the clock. But while trying to serve you, God, I got pulled over by a Leo with his hand on his Glock. So I gripped the steering wheel, bit my tongue, and tried hard to hold my peace while visions of Eric, Trayvon, Michael, and 12-year-old Tamir danced all around me. Was it worth escalating the situation and trying to contest this unjustified ticket? I quickly resolved in my mind and heart that it just wasn't even worth this Leo's bullet. In the end, I accomplished my goal, prayed over another soul, and got home safely, although I didn't deserve the 2 tickets that were doled out unjustifiably. Early this morning, I was stopped by a constable on patrol, a law enforcement officer, painfully reminded that I am still a black man despite my Bible and my white clergy collar. Daryl Armstrong, Trenton Police Chaplain, pastor, Shiloh Baptist Church.
We're coming to the close of our submitted writings, and this brother has been a tremendous force in my life. There are conversations that we've had where I can be real with him about how I'm feeling, and he ministers to me. And he doesn't have the ordination, but he definitely has the Spirit. And he is just an incredible force in this community. But before he comes, I know that there's this cliche that behind every man there's a good woman. And that is definitely true if you have a good woman. And he has a good woman. And so I'm going to read her story. Griselda Tisha Jemmett. Perched closely as lovers, he reached for your hand. In truth, he just follows your loving command. A connection enduring to balance the edge. Your soothing voice quiets the rage in his head. Companionships serve as a valuable tame when lovers unite with rhythm the same. You gently beside him bring hope for the poor, sustaining, enduring your love evermore. That's Tisha. And so I'm going to introduce to you now Tisha's man, Leighton Newland.
Wow. Didn't expect that, but Thank you, my brother. Much love to you. And I'm going to dedicate this poem I wrote to the Witherspoon-Jackson Neighborhood and to my soulmate, Tisha Elena Jamat. Thank you. Now, I just, I want you to know that I did this not so much because I was called on to do it, but Adam threatened me. He said, if you don't submit something, something's going to happen. So here we go, and I hope you like this. Witherspoon-Jackson, stand up, never back down. 20th Historic District, holding the crown. Black roots deep in this Ivy League town. They tried to move us out, but we still around. Yo, Sinkies, where the real ones play. Blacktop dreams, just a fade away. Bobby Ball's got the candy on deck, 5 cents a pop. Now it's all about respect. Mrs. Broadway had that chip and cream. No tables uptown, but we lived our dream. Sonny Tashel's bottle clicking in the night. Miss Rhodes kept the sugar game tight. Coffee cup where the elders would sip. Cinerinos had the sauce, never let it slip. Jimmy Mack with the clippers, fresh cut. Talk black pride when the razor got stuck. Marv's Lounge, we was lounging heavy. Talking revolution with a splash of Henny. American Legion, Elks Club vibe. Whole damn block had community pride. Mount Pisgah, Presbyterian, First Baptist love. Church of God in Christ, calling down from above. The Masonic Temple, brotherhood tight. We built Witherspoon-Jackson on that conscious light. We ain't need uptown. We had Mary Moss's pool, Cannonball Joy, kids wilding out of school. Griggs Corner was the stopping post where everybody knew who needed the most. Tig Trucking, Rhodes Brothers, big moves. Lonnie's Ice House had nothing to prove. Tig and Hines softball, Sunday Sounds. Cavaliers march with them neighborhood bounds. Imperial Debs, Valiants in line. Drill team strutting like the rhythm was divine. C2C slid into bases clean. Back when softball games were the village scene. Dave's Restaurant, downtown deluxe fare, served with a side of black love and care. So don't call it just black, that was ours by right. We stayed rooted in the soil through the long dark night. Historic, yeah, but don't get it twisted. Witherspoon-Jackson's alive, and the culture persisted. Witherspoon-Jackson, stand up, never back down. 20th Historic District still holding the crown. Black roots run deep in this Ivy League town. Tried to move us out, but we still around.
Is there anybody else here that has a word that they want to share? Doesn't have to be in poetic form. It could just be about your experience.
We forgot to mention Daddy D's Boy Scout 57 at the Baptist Church.
All right. Come on up. I don't remember that. I wasn't in that group. I was in the Cub Scouts at Mount Pisgah, Major and I. Yeah. But wow, that's something. That's something. That's the thing, you know, when you with this. All right. Anything else? Any other memories? Any other reflections? Any other thoughts? Did anyone do the Princeton call? Ooh. Ooh. That was the Princeton call. That's right. I'm going to read one more of my poems, and since her daughter's here, I didn't even know she was here, but this is about an incredible quiet presence in our town. This woman is so vibrant and 96 years old and is still on the scene. And how many of you know Janetta Woods? Janetta Woods. You wowed us in dazzle with caramel-filled paint, Its vibrant red lipstick brings life to the faint. A wondrous preserving, a fashion icon, sustainer of family, you nurture life's dawn. Reflection of seasons when Princeton was few. As diva, you quietly blended the old with the new. Sustaining and thriving, enforcing the wall, maintaining, preserving a home for us all. Janetta Woods. So I'd like to close just with acknowledging the book that I dedicated, this book I dedicated to two of my dearest friends, one who's here today. I want to just mention my childhood friend, Donald Craig, and I wrote in the book, he saw me and always challenged me to be my very best. And if it wasn't for his love for me, I don't think I would have ever had a seat at any table. And what I mean by that is that he really encouraged me. He saw something in me and just encouraged me just to do whatever I could do. And he always had my back, and I just have to acknowledge him. But I also have another dear friend, and he's here today, and his name is Gil Derry. And I wrote, I'm also dedicating this book to another dear friend that I met as an adult, Gil Derry, who worked with me at Princeton Medical Center. Gil and I both understood all too well the challenges of being a part of a community that we weren't necessarily born into. We shared an equal passion in our own distinct ways to leave the community of Princeton better than when we came. I often say that Gil is one of the few people that I feel most comfortable with in being my true, authentic self. When you have a friend that you can really just let your hair down, you can cuss if you gotta cuss, and they're not gonna judge you, that's the greatest gift in the world. And I can tell you, I can stand up here today and read this stuff, and I wouldn't care if all you walked out, as long as Gil Derry's in here. I know I'd laugh and I'd be all right. So I want to acknowledge my friend Gil Derry. Can you just... And a couple of friends like that. Dean Boyer's another one. There's many of them, so I thank God for each and every one of you. Is there anything else that anybody wants to share tonight? This is your night.
Thank you.
Hey.
I had similar to Leighton, encouragement from Adam. My name is Leanna Jonke. I'm the executive director of Princeton Nursery School, and I'm sure there's a lot of alumni in the house, in the room today. I feel very similar to Reverend Smith, where I did not grow up here in Princeton, but have felt such a welcome, such a warm welcome. I attended Barbara Branks's Celebration of Life ceremony, and they spoke about how she turned around and welcomed another Black female resident, and I feel that so much every time I join, so thank you for that. And thank you for the encouragement today. I'm a novice, so this. In Witherspoon-Jackson, where rich histories lie, a yellow stucco jewel shining with Black pride. Princeton Nursery School, a small haven so true, for families who loved our children who grew. Caring for little ones with Jean Riley's warm grace, lifting up spirits in that historic special place. A school where young Black children flourish and dream, fulfilling a need, allowing the entire community to succeed. A mission to empower all overlooked. To kindergarten, knowledge and love the children took. Families made stronger, standing proud and tall. A Princeton Nursery School legacy. A Princeton Black history for all. Thank you so much.
There's been so much great poetic experiences. I almost feel bad following up with a little reading from the book, but I thought we've heard so much tonight from some of the reverends, and I thought I'd just highlight the black churches in town. So chapter 8 is black churches in Princeton. And it's not too long, but it'll be quick. 4 black churches were the pillars of the black community. Mount Pisgah African Methodist Episcopal, AME, also referred to as the Witherspoon AME, was organized in 1832 by Sampson Peters in a schoolhouse on Witherspoon, not too far from the existing church. The cornerstone of Mount Pisgah African Methodist Episcopal Church reads 1835, though the land on which it sits was purchased from Samuel Bayard on August 19th, 1839 for $75. That's $2,545.20 in today's currency. The founding trustees were G. Miller, Philip Hort, George Rattles, Ishmael Berry, Richard Long, Shepard Holcomb, P. Biddle, and Samuel Unk. Mount Pisgah AME Church played a pivotal role in the Underground Railroad. The entire Underground Railroad network, quote, was divided into such circuits, each under the control of a particular AME agent, end quote. Reverend, poet, Arts Council, and Witherspoon-Jackson Historical and Cultural Society trustee and community advocate Gregory Smith grew up on McLean Street as his stepfather, Reverend Leon Gibson, a founding member of the Princeton Black Caucus, served for a decade as pastor at the AME. Though Gregory has since moved to Hamilton, his heart and work as a community activist remains in Princeton. In the early 1970s, Gregory's mother, Charlotte Gibson, was also a founding member of the Princeton Black Caucus and an administrator at the Youth Center, where it was pointed out was here, where the Arts Council is now located. She hosted a weekly radio program called Black Flack, which was broadcast on AM 1350 station, WHWH, Princeton's first AM station, founded in September 1962. In 1835, at the Mount Pisgah AME as the Mount Pisgah AME cornerstone was being laid, the First Presbyterian Church of Princeton experienced a devastating fire, believed to have been caused during an Independence Day celebration, originated, quote, in the sparks of a skyrocket, which was set off in the village during the afternoon lighting upon the roof, end quote. Prior to this, First Presbyterian services had whites and blacks worshiping together. After the fire, the 92 living black members of the Integrated First Presbyterian on March 10th, 1836, set out to form the First Presbyterian Church of Color of Princeton, which they later renamed the Witherspoon Street Presbyterian Church, whose Reverend was here this evening, but I don't believe he's here now, which was later named the Witherspoon Street Presbyterian Church in 1848. Betsy Stockton was one of the first members. Like the Mount Pisgah AME, Witherspoon Street Presbyterian did its part and, quote, aided runaway slaves on the Underground Railroad, unquote. On August 5th, 1885, Bright Hope Baptist Church was formed. The name, given by church member Elizabeth Gordon, was later changed to First Baptist in 1930. The Baptist church started in the home of Mr. and Mrs. Frederick Jackson at 11 Green Street. Its original members included, quote, James Johnson, Thomas Warner, Herman Digman, and Joshua Freeman, end quote. Presently, First Baptist is located on the corner of Paul Robeson Place and John Street. Lance Liverman, a lifetime resident, I think he just stepped out, a lifetime resident and former Princeton council member, has attended First Baptist since he was 8 years old, later serving on its board. Liverman was born at Princeton Hospital in 1962. His father was the first black electrical lighting technician at McCarter, and he is a real estate investor who has served on the Human Services Commission, Affordable Housing Board, and the Civil Rights Commission. The youngest church among the black churches in Princeton is the Pentecostal Morning Star Church of God in Christ, which started in a small house in 1923 as the Church in God in Christ by Daniel Culp Thomas on Birch Avenue, but was not chartered, meaning officially given the rights and privileges of the denomination, until 1941. The churches of the Witherspoon-Jackson Neighborhood are more than the physical structures housing a people with a shared spiritual belief. The churches led the charge for progressive politics and the continuation of tradition. They remain the connective tissue of the past to the present and is the conscience of the people. So I want to thank you all for coming out this evening. It's been a remarkable trip down memory lane for many people, and it's great to see everybody come out. And if you haven't already, say hello to somebody you don't already know, and then buy a couple copies of the books. All right. Again, thank you for coming to the Arts Council. It was great to have you here.